You're listening to The Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
Newsletter that comes out twice a day to get even more great local news.
The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV. Crimson Tide Kickoff. Play-by-play for Alabama sports and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Gary Harris Show. It's the TGIF edition for Friday, September 20, 2024. I'm your trusted host, Gary Harris. I got my main man, Chase Brumfeld, right there on the other side of the glass, manning the controls, taking your phone calls on the Pinnacle Park at North River hotline. That number is 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. You know, it's Friday. We like to have a lot of fun around here in studio today. And with the no home game this weekend, not over for Fridays at the Free at Innisfree, but ready to go. Got a great show on tap for you. A lot to talk about, a lot to discuss, and a lot going on this morning, which I'll run down for you here in just a moment. First, though, I need to tell you, as always, Alabama Credit Union brings you this first hour, your trusted partner for financial success. Embrace financial well-being with Alabama Credit Union. Find out more at alabamacu.com. That's alabamacu.com. Alabama Credit Union, loans for real life. Some rules and restrictions do apply. See if you're eligible for membership. Then join today and feel good about your money. And put a little extra change in your pocket. All right, here's the lineup for today, 9:30. Adam Amin, Fox Sports, trusted play-by-play man, one of the best in the business. He is going to be joining us this morning at 9:30, and we love having Adam on. He is on the call this weekend for 49ers and Rams on Sunday out on the left coast. Of course, he is joined this season by Mark Sanchez and Christina Pink on his Fox NFL broadcast. So we'll talk NFL football and Major League Baseball with Fox Sports play-by-play broadcaster Adam Amin. At 10:30, it's the Auburn Report with Brett Pritchard from the Auburn Blitz. We look forward to that, as always, with Brett as Auburn gets ready to open SEC play at home tomorrow afternoon at Jordan-Hare Stadium against the Arkansas Razorbacks. Also today, it's our Bama football trivia contest presented by T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery in the University Mall. And we are going to, we usually do that when we have a guest on, don't we, Chase? It makes it easier. Yeah, so we'll do it at 10:30 with Brett Pritchard. We don't have a 10 o'clock guest this morning. So we'll do Bama football trivia presented by T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery at the bottom of the second hour, 10:30. We will be giving away another one of the Gravedigger prints. We have given away, what have we given away so far? 2 Gravediggers and a Brody Coyle print is what we've given away so far. We're going to give away another Gravedigger. Then next week now, for the Georgia game, let me just go ahead and let the cat out of the bag. We've got the second and 26 print to give away from the national championship game against the Bulldogs. But today, another Gravedigger print with Jalen Milroe and Isaiah Bond. Full size, color, ready to frame. That's what we're going to be giving away this morning. Bama football trivia presented by T-Town Menswear, T-Town Gallery at 10:30. Also, in the final segment of the show, my SEC point spread predictions. And yeah, I've dropped off quite a bit since that hot first week when I went 8-1. I went 3-6-1 the second week and 5-8 last week. So for the season, I am still not terrible. 16-15-1. So yeah, I need a good week this week, though. I'm not going to lie to you. We'll be picking all of the SEC games, all 10 of them. I think 3 or 4 of them are SEC versus SEC. Florida's at Mississippi State. The Gators are -6. Arkansas's at Auburn. Auburn's -2.5. Tennessee's at Oklahoma. Tennessee's -6.5. Vandy at Missouri. Missouri's -20. Ohio's at Kentucky. UK's -42.5. Bowling Green at Texas A&M. The Aggies are -22. Georgia Southern at Ole Miss. Ole Miss, who's been pounding people, is a 36-point favorite. LSU at home is a 22.5-point favorite of UCLA. And Texas is a 44.5-point favorite over ULM. South Carolina at home a 27-point favorite over Akron. We'll give all those point spread predictions in the final segment. So we are rocking and rolling. Of course, we love to have fun on Fridays. We love to have some upbeat, weekend-themed music to get you going, and we'll be doing that this morning. All right, before we get to any phone calls, and again, if you want to give us a call, 205-342-9904, talk about some, not headlines, but some topics that are making news. We got to start with Shohei Ohtani. There's just no other way around it. If you're not a Major League Baseball fan, you know, it doesn't matter. I mean, this is one of these guys that's a transcendent player. I was thinking about this last night after his performance in which he became the first player in Major League history to become a 50-50 guy. That's 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases. And Acuna did it last year with 40-40. At one time, it was 30-30. If you were 30-30, you were considered dynamic. If you could hit 30 home runs and steal 30 bases in a season. Then you had guys that could do 40-40, like Acuna last year. Of course, he's hurt this year. But Ohtani comes along, and this is a guy that's, 6'5", 225 pounds. And he's had 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases in the same season, the first to ever do it. And how did he go about reaching these numbers? Oh, Lord. Last night against the Florida Marlins, Ohtani went 6 for 6 with 3 home runs, 2 stolen bases, and 10 runs batted in. Let me say that again. 6 for 6, 3 home runs, 2 stolen bases, 10 RBI. I don't know that I've ever seen that in a game. So this guy who the Dodgers paid, I think I'm not looking at $750 million or something like that for the total contract. Look it up, Chase. But it was around $750 million for the total contract. What do you got?
Yeah, it was 10 years, $700 million.
Yeah, okay. But if you're ever going to pay a guy that kind of money, it might as well be a guy who, as I said, I was thinking about this last night, has the potential, not there yet, has the potential to go down maybe as the greatest player ever in the history of Major League Baseball. Ruth, Mays, Aaron, Bonds, Musial, Maggio, Ted Williams. I mean, whoever you think might be the greatest player in the history of the game. And for me, it's probably Willie Mays because, again, I was born in 1964. You know, when I started really paying attention to Major League Baseball in the early 70s, Willie was winding it down, but still he was Willie Mays. Hank Aaron was Hank Aaron. I mean, those were guys. But then, too, again, because I love sports, I'm a historian, I went back and, and obviously Babe Ruth. I mean, Babe Ruth hit, it's like Don Hudson in football, the former Alabama receiver. The numbers that Don Hudson put up in the 30s and 40s for the Packers were so much above everybody else that was playing at that time. It's unbelievable. Same thing with Ruth. Ruth was out hitting people by 20 or 30 home runs a year. So regardless, but what Ohtani is doing, and remember this, folks, he's a pitcher that couldn't pitch this year because of an injury. And so I think that's probably one reason he got to 50-50. He doesn't speak English. He has a translator, but he's humble. He is, hey, look up, while we're talking, Chase, look up his height and weight, too. I think he's like 6'5", 225, but see what they list him at. I think he probably said, you know what, if I can't pitch to help my team right now, I'm going to steal 50 bases. What do you got on him?
Yeah, he's 6'4", or 209.
Okay, big guy. Still 50 bases like that. All right, and I think he's bigger than 209. I mean, when you look at him, he is put together now. I question that 209. I think more like 220, 225. But anyway, he's in great shape. So I think he probably said, well, if I can't pitch, I'm going to focus on doing something miraculous like go 50-50. And just unbelievable the season he's had. And remember, when he pitches, he's not just some guy out there throwing. I mean, he can pitch. So next year, when he's back pitching. That's another reason I think you obviously have to look at him potentially as the greatest to ever do it, because Ruth pitched as well. Ruth was a pitcher before becoming the home run king, but he is going to be doing it at the same time, just like he did with the Angels. And there's nobody else doing that right now. So unbelievable what Shohei Ohtani is doing. And the Dodgers, of course, obviously are one of the favorites to win the World Series. They're a really, really good team. Thursday night NFL football, I didn't get to watch it because I don't subscribe to streaming services. I don't pay to watch NFL football. So, which means I didn't get to watch it because it was on, I guess, Amazon Prime. But the Jets looked good, 24-3 over the Patriots. Aaron Rodgers starting to give Jets fans some hope. 2-1, dominant performance last night. Speaking of dominant, Quentin Williams, the former Alabama defensive tackle, is just hard to block. Really, really hard to block. He had a heck of a game last night in the middle of that Jets defensive line. Of course, his brother Quincy plays out linebacker for him. But Williams was a load here at Alabama. He's one of the highest paid defensive tackles now in the league, and you could argue with Aaron Donald's retirement that he is the top interior defensive lineman in the league. But he was wreaking havoc last night. I don't have his stats pulled up, but I think he had a sack and a half maybe. He had a lot of pressures. Really got after the quarterback, stuffed the run. Just a well-rounded, complete football player. And was hard to block last night and did the job on the defensive end. Also, a college football last night. Somebody break up the South Alabama Jaguars. After scoring 87 last week against Northwestern State, they went on the road to Boone, North Carolina to play App State. That's a tough place to play. And the Jags laid a 48-14 whipping.
Shocker.
On the Mountaineers. And the only 2 touchdowns that App State got, the first was on the final play of the second half on a Hail Mary. Literally the final play of the half. They'll throw it up and catch it, Hail Mary. And the other one came in the final seconds of the second half. So outside of kind of 2 excuse-me touchdowns, the Mountaineers didn't do anything on offense. What a performance by the Jags. And listen now, next week, you know where South Alabama goes, Chase?
LSU.
They go to LSU. And LSU better not just show up and roll the ball out there. They better be ready to go. So, because I'm telling you right now, this South Alabama team, the Fighting Major Applewhites, that's right, Major Applewhite's their head coach, looking good the last couple of weeks. All right, we are off and running. We got a lot to do on the show this morning. A lot of college football. We'll look ahead to the SEC weekend and have my point spread predictions in the final segment. Bama football trivia presented by T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery in the University Mall. We'll do that at 10:30, and we will give away another full-size Greg Gamble print of the Grave Digger with Jalen Milroe and Isaiah Bond. We'll get to your phone calls. We'll have that terrific weekend music. Gary and Chase, you can hear it in our voices. We're pumped up because it's Friday and it's beautiful outside, and it's going to be a great weekend. And for Bama fans, it's a chance to maybe do something, play some golf, go to the lake, just watch other teams, but no Bama games. So it's kind of the quiet before the storm hits next week as Alabama gets ready to play the Georgia Bulldogs. All right, we're going to take our first time out, and we'll come back and get to some phone calls. This is the Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama sports. As much as Innisfree has evolved, it will always be that place to escape and have a good time. Whether it's for a game day weekend, to reminisce on college days, or to create new memories, if you're looking for a good time, there's only one thing to do. Head to the Free at 1925 University Boulevard. And don't forget about the Lucky Lunch Meat and 3 special, Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. Get a meat and 3 vegetables for just $8.49. Or for a lighter appetite, try the Lucky Lunch soup, salad, or sandwich combo. I'll see you at the Free. Tuscaloosa's Old Colony Golf Course is an 18-hole championship layout designed by 1976 U.S. Open champion Jerry Pate. Director of Golf John Gray and fitting specialist Bob Montgomery are PGA certified.
Mike Shivitz is the head professional and director of the Tuscaloosa Junior Golf Program. Call today to secure a tee time.
Talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Since 2011, Billy's Sports Grill, located on Main Avenue in historic downtown Northport, has been serving their legendary signature chicken sandwich, award-winning wings, and handcrafted cocktails. Billy's is also the spot to watch all your favorite sporting events with big screen, high-definition televisions in both dining rooms, at the bar, and outside on the beautiful patio. Come by and say hello to Kim and Lisa, the Billy's Management Dream Team. Billy's, good food, good friends, and good time.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A good supply of sunshine today with a hot afternoon, the high 91. For tonight, fair with the low at 67. And for the weekend, the weather stays dry, mostly sunny tomorrow and Sunday with hot afternoons, highs between 90 and 93. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
You're listening to the Gary Harris Show. For Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 9:19. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. In just a little bit, someone has asked me to not only give the SEC matchups and times, but also the television assignments for the game. So I will do that here in just a few. Right now, we're going to jump out on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline at 205-342-9904, and that's where we find Kevin over in Northport. Hey, Kevin. Kevin, good morning. Kevin, where'd you go? Try it one more time. Kevin, you there? All right, Kevin's not there. Kevin, I don't know what happened, but you can call back in if you need to get through. And while we're waiting on Kevin, I will go ahead and do that because next segment I got Adam Amin. So I'll go ahead and give the times and the TV assignments, and I'll just do it in the order that they kick these games off. Florida's at Mississippi State, Scott Field, Davis Wade Stadium in Starkville. That's an 11 a.m. kick, and that's on ESPN. Ohio is at Kentucky, Kroger Field in Lexington. That is a 11:45 a.m. kick on SEC Network. UCLA at LSU, a 2:30 kick at Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge. So LSU does not get their favored nighttime kickoff for this one, afternoon kick. That's on ABC. Arkansas at Auburn, also at 2:30 at Jordan-Hare Stadium. That's on ESPN. Vanderbilt at Mizzou, 3:15 kick at Memorial Stadium in Columbia on SEC Network. Tennessee at Oklahoma, the marquee game in the SEC this weekend, 6:30 p.m. kick on ABC. Bowling Green at Texas A&M, 6:30 kick at Kyle Field in College Station. That is going to be a ESPN Plus, SEC Plus game. So no over-the-air television for that one. That's a stream. Akron at South Carolina, 6:30 p.m. kick on ESPNU. Georgia Southern at Ole Miss, 6:45 kick at Vaught Hemingway Stadium in Oxford on SEC Network. And the final game, UL Monroe at number 1 Texas, 7 p.m. at Darrell K. Royal Texas Memorial Stadium in Austin on ESPN Plus and SEC Network Plus. So no live over-the-air television for those games. So that is your SEC schedule with your TV assignments and your kickoff times. And as I said, I'll be doing my point spread predictions on these games coming up in the final segment of the show. So we will get to that. All right, I don't know what happened to Kevin, but if you want to give us a ring, right now we're wide open for phone calls on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline 205-342-9904. All right, as far as these games this weekend, with no Alabama and Georgia on our menu, you've got 4 SEC versus SEC matchups, as I said, headlined by number 6 Tennessee at number 15 Oklahoma at Memorial Stadium in Norman, 6:30 at night on ABC. And this game is the headliner even if you didn't have the Josh Heupel and Brent Venables effect. But you do. Heupel recruited to Oklahoma by Bob Stoops, where he helped lead the Sooners to a national championship. Then he became an assistant coach. Then he became the offensive coordinator. Then in 2015, he was unceremoniously dumped by Stoops. And it was a tough time for Josh Heupel. And he felt betrayed. And he, to his credit, put his career back to pieces and coached his way to the head job at the University of Tennessee. And now, as fate would have it, he is going to Norman as the head coach of the Tennessee Volunteers. And Brent Venables is the head coach at Oklahoma. Why is that noteworthy? Well, Josh Heupel got fired by Bob Stoops after a dismal performance in the bowl game against Clemson. Clemson wore out Oklahoma. Clemson had a defensive coordinator named Brent Venables who helped put that whipping on Josh Heupel. So that gives Heupel even more incentive to want to go back to Memorial Stadium in Norman and lead the Vols to victory. Now, here is the thing. And again, I'm not going to give away anything on my predictions until the final segment. I hear a lot of people talking about a blowout. A lot of people talking about Tennessee's going to go in there and hang 50 on Oklahoma and it's not going to be competitive. I will caution you this, though, without giving away anything on my picks. Oklahoma is a blue blood program. They're a proud program. They're a marquee program. Like an Alabama. Like a Michigan. Like a Notre Dame. Like a USC. My point is that they got a lot of pride. And they've got a lot of history and tradition and a rabid fan base. They're not just going to roll over for Tennessee or anybody else. And I've seen, and you have too, a lot of games where one of these proud programs, well, you don't see a lot because it didn't happen often, but you've seen it where one of these proud programs is an underdog at home. And the majority of the analysts and the pundits are saying they're going to get run out of their own stadium. And you've seen those teams bow up and say not so fast. Now, right now, as we speak this morning, do I think Tennessee is a better football team than Oklahoma? I do. I do think they're a better team. But the game's not at Neyland Stadium in Knoxville. It's at Memorial Stadium in Norman, and that does make a difference. And programs like Oklahoma know how to circle the wagons, pardon the pun, of course, because they have the Sooner Schooner, which is a wagon. But they know how to do that. And they're not going to roll over for anybody. All right, it's 9:27 here on the Gary Harris Show. And before we get to the break, I want to mention to you, my friends at the YMCA, no joining fee through the month of September. Just go to the Y, sign up, start paying your monthly fees, and get in there without a joining fee. Just pay your monthly dues and get to work. Also, they have personal training, 10% off all their personal training packages this month. Fitness classes, Silver Sneakers program. They can help with daycare, unbelievable wellness area, clean, sanitary locker rooms for men and for
at 3537 Skyland Boulevard East or online at bmwoftuscaloosa.com. BMW of Tuscaloosa. Take your dreams for a drive.
Life doesn't wait for when your finances are in perfect order. It just happens. But no matter what surprises come your way, Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. They offer an easy application process and fast decisions so you can stay focused on feeling good about whatever life brings your way. Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages.
There are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com.
So where should we go next?
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Your home for Alabama Crimson Tide football. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. The TGIF edition rolls on with one of my favorite guests, one of the top play-by-play broadcasters in the country. Adam Amin from Fox Sports joins us. He's on the call along with Adam. I just went blank. Remind me who you Mark Sanchez. Mark Sanchez and Christina Pink. This Sunday at 3:25 Central, one of the great NFL rivalries. I hate when that happens. Happens a lot since I've been in my 60s. But San Francisco at Los Angeles, the Rams and the 49ers. Good morning, Adam. How are you?
Morning, my friend. How are you doing?
Doing great. Looking forward to that big game. We're going to get into some NFL, but we're going to start with Major League Baseball. I don't know how you can't with what Shohei Ohtani has done and what he did last night to get to the 50-50 mark, to go 6 for 6 with 3 home runs, 2 stolen bases, and 10 runs batted in against the Marlins. We've never seen this type of season. It's history making, and he's not even pitching, which he will add back into his repertoire in 2025. Just your observations of Ohtani, what he's doing, and the potential with all the greats that have been in this game to one day go down maybe as the greatest player in the history of Major League Baseball.
I think that was the greatest game offensively in Major League history, to go 6 for 6 and 10 RBIs, and no one's ever hit 3 home runs and had 2 stolen bases in a game until Ohtani did it. To do all of that and to hit the marks that he hit to kind of solidify that status as arguably the greatest game in Major League history, it's incredible. I was in Milwaukee last night for our baseball game. We were doing the Brewers Diamondbacks game, and after the game, Luis Gonzalez got into the elevator with us. And obviously Gonzo is a legend, the 2001 World Series winner with the Diamondbacks, had the game-winning hit off Mariano Rivera in 19 seasons in the big leagues. And, you know, we're friendly, and I was with AJ Pierzynski, who Gonzo knows very well. And I was like, hey, Gonzo, how's it going? He goes, did you see what Ohtani did tonight? And that's all he wanted to talk about. And it's just that eye-opening when anybody who's close to the game, around the game, has a vested interest in the game, when they're all affected by something that one individual has done, that carries a lot of weight. So to me, it's the greatest game maybe ever played in baseball history. I think it's right there. I highly doubt there's going to be a lot of other games that are going to be able to even come remotely close, if any at all. So again, it could very much be the greatest game that's ever been played. And to have the historic aspect be a major part of an incredible game like that, 50-50 at his size, at his power, to have that type of speed and that wherewithal and the intelligence to steal the way he has, I'm in awe of the guy, and I think a lot of people are. Yeah, I am too. And again, you mentioned his size, and I was telling Chase, we were talking earlier. He looks like he's they list him at 209. He looks about 225 to me, and it's Canseco-ish a little bit in terms of the size and speed and power combination. Although we know that Jose was certainly being assisted with some supplements, but yeah, he's just so fluid. He's just so smooth. And as I mentioned, Adam, he's not pitching right now. And, he's going to add that back in. I mean, as you said, we've truly never, and I was talking earlier about Ruth, about Ted Williams, about Musial and DiMaggio, and later on Aaron and Mays and Bonds and whoever you want to throw in there. But this guy is already in the conversation
for the greatest in the history of the game. It's just remarkable. And I guess you could say he's in his prime. I mean, he's got a lot of good years still ahead of him. That's for sure.
I think you never really recognize it until you're deep into the moment. And oftentimes you don't recognize something until well after. But I think we're recognizing in the moment, which is a gift in and of itself, to be able to recognize that you're seeing something really, truly unique and great. I think we're seeing that right now. And it only happens once every, I don't know, maybe 15 to 20 years, maybe once a generation. This is it. This is the generational talent. This is the generational game-changing player. I think it's him. I think it was Bonds. Maybe prior to that, you're in the early 90s, or mid 90s, you're probably looking at Ken Griffey Jr. with some of the, stardom that he brought, the kind of superstar nature, and being, a brand as well, and not really trying to be, but becoming kind of a brand in and of himself, a generational talent. Prior to that, you're probably looking in the 1970s, whether it's Reggie Jackson or somebody of that ilk. Back to the 60s, it's Maris and, members of the Yankees and Williams and, like you said, Stan Musial. I feel like, every 15, 20, 30 years, you can really pinpoint one or two players, and this is our player. This is the player of our generation, of this generation, to be able to bridge the gap to the next, version of Major League Baseball that's going to get played. He's right at the forefront of it, maybe at the apex of it. So it only happens every couple of decades. To be able to witness it and recognize that you're witnessing in real time is special, and that's happening right now.
Yeah, well said. Big picture, we're probably not going to have a 100-win team this year. I guess if the Dodgers and Phillies finish 9-0 over these last 9 games, they would get there, but that's unlikely. They're the only two that even mathematically have a shot. So you would think that there's some parity, and there is. But the Yankees have gotten hot. I mean, obviously the Dodgers are loaded with talent. The Phillies have maybe been the best team all season long. As we get ready for the postseason, Astros have turned it on. I mean, could you call it wide open, Adam, or do you have a favorite or two in your mind?
No, I think it's pretty wide open. I had a discussion with Adam Wainwright about it during our broadcast last week, and asked a couple of people around. We were doing a Cleveland-Tampa Bay game, and I was asking a couple of people on the Cleveland staff that I was friendly with what they thought. And a lot of them had different answers. And I think some people felt that there is no team that is completely flawless, a team that's completely without flaws. Everybody's got a weakness. Philadelphia, Waino felt that Philadelphia was the most well-equipped to win the World Series. I asked him that question, not necessarily who's the best team, but who was the most well-equipped for it. And I think Philadelphia was his response. I think a lot of people would say that, and understandably so. When they watch Ohtani and imagine that he's going to be part of the postseason, because he will be. But finally, we finally get to watch Shohei Ohtani in a postseason series that's not the World Baseball Classic, because that was electric when he was pitching, and he struck out Mike Trout to secure gold for Japan. No team is flawless. Every team has something that can be exploited, or that can be a weakness. You want to see who the hot teams are. Obviously, you just mentioned the Yankees are getting hot at the right time. Philadelphia is playing better baseball. Ohtani's finding the groove at the very perfect moment. Milwaukee is consistent. Arizona is scary with their lineup that can produce runs in a short period of time. Baltimore has all the offensive talent in the world when it's on. Has a lot of concerns about its pitching. The Mets, same deal. They have some concerns about their starting rotation. Everybody's got a flaw. So to me, that's what makes this so wide open. Like you said, we're probably not going to have any 100-win teams, or it's going to be very close to not having any 100-win teams. So for everybody to be kind of in the 90 to 100 range, or have many teams be in that range, tells me that that the balanced schedule is working. I think that's the other thing too. I think the last couple of years of seeing how the balanced schedule plays out has been good. Mm-hmm. You are seeing more parity within the divisions, and you're seeing which teams really are the best. But, teams are getting hot at the right time. Have you seen what the Tigers have done?
Yeah.
In the last calendar month to be able to, have a less than 5% chance to make the playoffs, and now it's up in the 30s because of because of one great month down the stretch. I think they're, something like 21-9 or whatever it is down the last 30 games or so, and it's been the best record in baseball. They're hot. They're right in the thick of it with a week to go. So there's no perfect team. There are some incredible players, but there's no completely perfect, untouchable roster, and I think that's going to make for a great postseason.
Of course, we're watching the Braves here, and they're playing decently. Had a big win last night with Chris Sale on the hill. He's had a phenomenal year. Still on the outside looking in. Mets aren't making it easy on them at all, but they're still in the hunt. Do you think the Braves ultimately wind up getting in for one of those final wild card spots?
I mean, it's not easy. You have to be able to win your games, obviously, and then hold off what I think is a really good, well-playing Mets team. Right now, Mets got another win last night. They've got huge games coming up this weekend against Philadelphia. Atlanta's got to go on the road against a mess, a kind of mid-Miami team. Mm-hmm. So I think they're in position to keep pace. The Phillies have a lot to play for, so that's not an easy series for New York. They've got a shot, but if they get there, what are they going to do? And is there going to be enough offense? Can you support Chris Sale, who's having a Triple Crown caliber season? Is there going to be enough firepower offensively to carry you in a postseason series? And is your bullpen going to be able to hold up? Like I said, every team has these types of questions. They're certainly capable of getting in. They need Arizona to struggle. Maybe the Mets to scuffle a little bit. I think the Padres will be in at this point. It really does feel like Arizona, New York, Atlanta fighting for two spots. They have the tiebreaker, I think, on Arizona. I believe that both the Braves and the Mets have the tiebreak on the Diamondbacks, so they still have to clear both of those teams by a game to make the postseason. So that's a little bit of added pressure on Torey Lovullo's team, but they've got a tough schedule down the stretch. They've got San Francisco, Milwaukee, and then San Diego in a huge series to close the year. So there's an opportunity for Atlanta to sneak in, and then once you get in, that's what everybody's saying. That's what every manager is talking about right now. Just get into the tournament, get in, and we'll figure it out once we get there. Look what happened to Arizona last year. Out of the wild card spot, it's not uncommon for teams to stay hot, make deep runs. The Padres did it a couple of years ago to the NLCS. Like I said, Arizona did it last year to get to the World Series. There's a lot of opportunity for teams once they get into the tournament to make some noise.
Yeah, Braves with all the injuries, but still, if they don't make the playoffs, it's going to be a major, major disappointment for that organization. Let's get to the NFL. Last night, I guess Aaron Rodgers is giving Jets fans a glimpse of what they, had hoped to see. Last night, the Jets looked good against the Patriots team that beat the Bengals. Maybe should have beat the Seahawks, but last night the Jets handled them pretty easily. Rodgers was efficient. The defense looked more like the Jets defense that we'd expected to see. What do you make in New York? It's only 3 games in, but Rodgers is large and in charge. We saw him come to the sideline and his head coach greeted him and he was like, no, don't give me any of that right now. You could tell he's all business. He wants to do something special with the Jets.
Yeah, it's a good attitude to have for him. I think just to stay engaged. I know at times Aaron has been accused of not being completely engaged with what's going on the field or, what have you, but I think he understands his years are waning. This is a big opportunity. I think this is I saw a statistic. I haven't gone back and confirmed it. Garrett Wilson got a touchdown pass from Aaron Rodgers last night. Top pick, right? First round pick. Apparently, that was the first wide receiver that's been drafted in the first round to catch a pass for a touchdown from Aaron Rodgers. I haven't confirmed that, but if that's true, that is a pretty wild indictment of some of the Green Bay teams that Aaron played for. I mean, that's just absolutely wild. I think he's in a great position with a great roster. We talked about defensively. You mentioned it, Gary, how impressive they've been even in week 1. And I think Breece Hall Lazard, somebody he's familiar with. We mentioned Garrett Wilson. Ty Conklin's developing into a nice tight end. I think the offense is pretty good, and they've been building that offensive line for a couple of years. Defensively, we know who they have. They have one of the best lockdown quarters at all of football, and to get the type of pass rush that I think they can generate is important. Obviously, to disrupt what they're going to see. Plus, they're going to see Josh Allen twice. They're going to see the Patriots coming up again. They'll see Miami 2 times. Those are, decent offenses. At least 2 or 3 of those are decent offenses that you're going to have to face. So that defense is going to have to carry its load as well. But I think Rodgers is in a position after missing last year. And I think what was a frustrating year for him last year, to sit on the sidelines, to feel like I finally have an opportunity with a different roster to make some hay here with that, just the one Super Bowl that he has. I think he recognizes where he is in his career and what type of roster he has around him. So I think that played into the psyche when we saw his attitude last night. And obviously after the game, he's all laughs and smiles. That's typical of Aaron Rodgers, so it's not surprising for me to see that. But I think he recognizes how good of a roster he has for the first time in a few years at the very least.
Adam Amin, Fox Sports play-by-play with us, talking some NFL. This past weekend was just nuts. All of the games that were decided in the final seconds, the comebacks, I guess it's everything that Roger Goodell wants to see. I mean, no game is safe, it looks like, unless you maybe got a 28-point lead with 3 minutes to go. But let's start with the Chiefs and the Bengals, because I felt like I watched a lot of that game. Bengals outplayed them. But there's not another team or quarterback in the league, I don't care who you mentioned, that when it's 4th and 16, you expect them to make it. You don't sit there and think, well, they might make it. You expect them to make it. Yeah, it was a pass interference that got it done, but it was pass interference. I mean, I guess that's what the Chiefs have built with Andy Reid and those players, and that when it's 4th and 16, if you're the Bengals fans, you're expecting them to make it. If you're a Chiefs fan, you expect them to make it. If you're just a casual football fan, you expect them to convert that. And that's what it's come to now with the Kansas City Chiefs. You don't rest against that team until it's 0-0 on the scoreboard and you've got the lead. Or even then, you may be still looking around saying, is there a flag? Is there something else that's going to happen? Is there a review? I mean, it's like Dracula, man. You got to put a stake through their heart, right?
They're the most contiguous group. They have the most continuity. They have one of the 2 best quarterbacks in the league, and you can pick whoever you want to for the second best. But I think Mahomes is still the most efficient and I would say most comfortable looking quarterback in the league. Because again, the continuity that they have, he's got a lead receiver. Even with Travis Kelce not playing particularly well, they continue to draft. I know Pacheco's hurt right now, but they turn Rashee Rice into a legitimate weapon. They just keep finding people that know how to play in the system. The draft pick of Xavier Worthy to kind of take the mantle of Tyreek Hill is a very smart move by that front office, and I think they still have one of the best game disruptors in Chris Jones on the defensive side. So there's so much comfort and confidence for most of the guys in that locker room, but certainly 15. For Mahomes to kind of have such a great understanding of the offense. He's at a position where Manning was when Manning was getting deeper into his career with Indianapolis. He's in the position that Brady was in when he had a lot of continuity and you could put different pieces around him, but the offense had so much continuity with the play calling and the quarterback and the understanding of how to make checks and, having a center that they've signed for the next few years and they know that they have a complete command of how to make checks, how to protect. Protection in this league is a combination of play calling, quarterback recognition, and offensive line play. And their recognition based off their offensive schemes, their skill set and reading ability of the quarterback and the center are so good and have had so much continuity for so long, for so many years now, that it's just hard to throw a wrench into the machinery at this point. And I'm not saying it's just all system. You have to execute in the system, but they have the best and most efficient version of offense in the NFL and some of the best players to execute what they're trying to do on a consistent basis. So, Reed, Creed Humphrey, their center, Mahomes, Rice, Pacheco, Kelsey, everybody's in on what they're doing, and they have so much continuity and such great understanding of what they're doing that it becomes almost automatic. So you're wondering, like, what you said, Gary, you're right. You know, they're like Dracula. You have to put a stake through their heart. But how do you get to become Dracula? How do you get to become this monster that is hard to bring down? They're not infallible, but they're so good. How do they get to that point? And that's how they've got to that point. It's obviously the skill set of the quarterback, the recognition of the center, and the play calling of Andy Reid.
So many fantastic finishes last week, and a couple more I want to hit on. The Ravens are 0-2, as are the Bengals, but the Ravens got a 13-point fourth quarter lead against the Raiders. We know the Ravens are a better football team and they lose. Where I wanted to go with this is you bring Derrick Henry in. I understand some games you're going to use him more than others, but he was running the ball well in the second half of that game. I mean, he was really running it well. He liked Derrick Henry, and that's why you bring him in. And then Monken doesn't really let him close out the game. I'm going to get to some of these coaching decisions these guys make, but I can't figure out what the Ravens were doing down the stretch of that game, and they lost it. I mean, I know you're calling games, you're not able to watch them all, but I put this one on, I give the Raiders credit, but I put this one squarely on the Ravens. I mainly put it on Todd Monken for not really closing this game out the way they could have.
Well, that's kind of an interesting conversation that we're just having, considering that we're just talking about continuity, understanding the raising of the game because of everybody's understanding of how the offense works, what works in what situations, cognitively understanding which matchups are working over the course of the first 3 quarters of the game. And the Chiefs have that, and not every team has that consistently. And the Ravens, who have been so reliant on Lamar Jackson, so reliant on Mark Andrews, are looking at other players, try to implement in key spots, but they still want to be able to lean on the players that know the system the best and are part of it, Lamar being at the forefront of that. It's hard to make the transition, and most things in the NFL happen slowly over a period of, a handful of games. A month is often a good barometer for how a team's doing month to month. 4 or 5 games oftentimes is what it takes, and I still don't know if Baltimore knows what it has. You know what I mean? I think they're still trying to learn what works in what situation, in what time and score. And I'm not making excuses for coaches, but just covering the sport over the years now and being in more conversations with coordinators and coaches, you really do realize that it's live bullets flying. Like everything is happening very fast. And I think they spend all this time game planning for the first quarter of the game, right? They're not really thinking all the time or as often about game-specific scenarios. Well, what if we have a 2-touchdown lead? What if we have a 10-point lead? Like, what have we done that has worked in the past? And it's hard to kind of make that transition until you make perhaps a mistake.
Adam, are you there? All right. I don't know what happened there. We were talking and we just lost Adam. I don't know what.
I'm about to call him back right now.
Well, we're getting out of time, so call him back real quick and see if we can get him on for the last minute here. I don't know what happened. I mean, we're just having a conversation, and suddenly he was gone. I mean, it was like it just went mute. Well, we're sorry, folks. We don't know what happened. The phone gremlin's got us again. And all right, is he back? Okay, let's try. Adam, are you back?
Yeah, sorry about that, Garrett. Just in a weird spot.
Okay, yeah, but you were finishing out your point on the Ravens not really understanding who they are and what they've got right now with this new look offense.
Yeah, again, I think it takes a month, 4 or 5 games for teams to kind of really figure out what they want to implement and how to use the talent that they have, especially if it's new talent and you've been used to doing something at a high level for a while. Again, that's no joke of a Baltimore offense, right, over the last couple of years. Lamar's an MVP. So it's hard to suddenly in just 2 games try to figure out, well, this clearly worked. Like, yes, could you make the case that you could think about these things in the lead up to these times and situations? Yeah, of course, but you don't really think about these things. And like I said, there's a lot of live bullets flying when you're trying to figure out time score scenario and let's go back to the things that have worked. Then panic mode sets in when the Raiders cut it to a 1-score game. Things like that are happening at a really high rate. So I think they'll figure it out. I think a game like Sunday opens the eyes of somebody like Todd Monken to realize, hey, maybe we should use Derrick Henry a little bit more. Usually there's 1 or 2 games that are trigger points for figuring out what a philosophy is going to be over the course of a season.
And lastly, Nick Sirianni, he's won a lot of games since he's been with the Eagles, but he reminds me of that kid in the 3rd grade. You know the one I'm talking about, Adam. Teacher asks a question. I know. Hands up first for every question. He's just too smart for his own good. And I going for a 4th and 4 in the first quarter went 0-0. Fourth go at the fourth rather than taking the points. And then at the end, if Barkley catches the ball, I get it. Kellen Moore dials it up. They win the game, but he didn't catch it. And when it's 3rd and 3, you're inside the Falcons 10. They've got no timeouts. You run it twice. I think you're going to get the first down. But even if you don't, then they take over. They're inside their 10. They got a limited amount of time, no timeouts, and they're in field goal mode. By kicking the field goal there, you actually, I think, played it in the Falcons' hands because then they're thinking touchdown. If you don't make it on 4th down, they get the ball, but they're just trying to get in position to kick a field goal and you at least have overtime. I just thought the Eagles outsmarted themselves there. Your reaction?
Listen, if Barkley makes the catch, we're not discussing.
That's right.
It because it is a great play call, and I feel like we have a tendency to parse it into good and bad based off of results alone. I think you have to execute. And listen, I think Jason Kelce brought this up the other day on their show. If Barkley if you tell me that we have one play to try to essentially win the game, and it's a pass to the back wide open in a flat, and it's somebody as reliable as Saquon Barkley has been, I'm taking that play. And if you're Saquon Barkley, you got to make that catch. That's why they brought you. That's why you got paid. There's a lot of, Giants fans that are.
Oh, they were celebrating.
they were celebrating a little bit because of Barkley. Earlier in the day, he had the quote that, I'm much happier here. And I'm not saying that's not true, and I'm not saying that has to be result dependent, but you got to make that play. And I do think that coaches sometimes have a tendency to quote unquote outsmart themselves. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think it comes off that way though, Gary, because we're looking at things that work. Again, the same thing with Todd Monken. You were just talking about it, right? Like, give the ball to the 240-pound running back that knows how to close a game. Run the ball twice rather than risking the pass, and keep the clock moving.
Right.
There is so much that you can do that gets you to point B, from point A to point B, to be in the best position to win. Now, again, if he executes that play, if he makes the catch, we're not talking about it. I don't think that's a bad play call. I don't think he outsmarted himself, so to speak. But I do think there are multiple times in a game where you have you take points early. Don't chase as much early. Your aggressiveness level, while I encourage coaching like Dan Campbell, I encourage teams to go for it more often. So I think the rate of return is really good when you're in when you're in decently close games, but not down to the wire games. I think earlier in games you can avoid some of the pitfalls, and I think we're seeing magnified decisions more than anything else. I don't think this is an indictment of Nick Sirianni. I think there's a lot more that you could point to that could be an indictment of Nick Sirianni and what Kellen Moore is doing and the rift between him and Hurts. I think there's a lot more you can point to rather than just the one play to Saquon Barkley, which was a good call that should have been executed by the running back to kind of indict him on. But there's other stuff, too.
Fair enough. And Adam is on the call Sunday, 3:25 Central on Fox, 49ers at Rams with Mark Sanchez and Christina Pink. We went way over, but it's okay because it's Adam and me. Thank you, Adam.
You got it, buddy.
All right, and that is going to wrap up the first hour of the Gary Harris Show. We're going to go ahead and get out because we went way over. Sorry about that, Chase, but, man, we were having such a great conversation. We'll take a break here, and when we come back, it'll be hour number 2 of the Gary Harris Show. This hour has been brought to you by Alabama Credit Union. Coming back with a whole other hour of the Gary Harris Show.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Monty Bolaños.
Thursday Night Football kicked off Week 3 of the NFL, and it was all Jets against the Patriots. New York came out on top 24-3. Aaron Rodgers completed 27 of 35 passes for 281 yards and 2 touchdowns.
We're trying to change this whole attitude around here. You know, we're trying to build something special here. Get these fans to believe in us. They've been tortured for a long time. So last year was obviously a tough year. But it's good to be back. It's good to be healthy. So, again, so many people that I'm thankful for that got me to this point. But it's great to be a Jet. Great to have nights like this. And even better to have a weekend off.
That was Aaron Rodgers. Drake May did get subbed in for the Patriots late in the fourth quarter. He completed 4 of 8 passes for 22 yards and was sacked twice. And in the NBA, former MVP and 76ers star Joel Embiid is signing a 3-year, $193 million max extension with the team.
If you haven't already, you've got to try Tuscaloosa's unique breakfast, brunch, and lunch concept. Brick and Spoon, downtown Tuscaloosa, Timerson Square. It's fresh food with a Cajun flair featuring a full bar with build-your-own Bloody Marys and mimosas. Open daily, 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. Available for after-hour.
Highest value on trades in Alabama. Julio Jones Kia off Greensboro Ave. Stop in today or visit us online at buyfromjulio.com.
Los Tarascos has been serving Mexican favorites like burritos, fajitas, and quesadillas since 1999. Their new location is at 4100 Owen Parkway in Northport. And of course, you can find Los Tarascos in Tuscaloosa at 110 Skyland Boulevard. The bar areas feature big screen television so you can enjoy your favorite sporting events. Los Tarascos features daily happy
at 3537 Skyland Boulevard East or online at bmwoftuscaloosa.com. BMW of Tuscaloosa. Take your dreams for a drive.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A good supply of sunshine today with a hot afternoon, the high 91. For tonight, fair with the low at 67. And for the weekend, the weather stays dry, mostly sunny tomorrow and Sunday with hot afternoons, highs between 90 and 93. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV. Crimson Tide Kickoff. Play-by-play for Alabama sports and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, welcome back in to hour number 2 of the Gary Harris Show. You're on Tide 100.9 FM, 1230 AM WTBC. I'm Gary Harris, Chase Brumfeld alongside. Another hour to go here on the program. We got the Auburn Report with Brett Pritchard coming up at 10:30. Your phone calls are welcome on the Pinnacle Park at North River hotline 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. Great conversation with Adam Amin. I could talk to him literally all day. When you start talking about NFL and Major League Baseball, he is a great, great source. And I wanted to ask him about Bryce Young's benching in Carolina, but didn't have time. And but let me say this about Bryce Young. The guy is a class act. He I probably went on a little bit of a rant yesterday about how bad I think this move is by the Panthers. But he met with the media, and just like you would expect Bryce Young to do, he carried himself like the pro that he is. In fact, Chase, let's pull a little bit of that up. He did an interview, and WCNC has it on YouTube from yesterday. Bryce Young talks for first time since benching by Panthers. If you just search that, I want to play a little bit of how he met with reporters after practice in front of his locker, and obviously the conversation went straight toward him being benched. Listen to the thoughtful response and the way he handles himself here. It's very, very classy. Here we go.
We can start with questions. Bryce, what have these last few days been like for you?
It's just Just trying to, trying to be the best version of myself, do whatever I can to help the team. Just relying on God, draw my faith from Him and continue to push to try to help be the best version of myself. That's really the focus.
How upset were you over this?
I mean, competitor, obviously, not how, not what you dream of, what you think is going to happen. But again, I trust in the Lord. I know that, He's in control at the end of the day. I'm super, super grateful for Him, for all this, happened in my life. I'm super blessed. So again, obviously not something that's ideal, but at the end of the day, it's, it is what it is. For me, I have to, focus on what I can do now, how I can be better, the process day to day, and just keep leaning on God.
Bryce, what was your reaction when Dave told you the news? I mean, were you surprised? Were you shocked? Were you upset? What was your reaction?
Yeah, not something that I was necessarily expecting, and obviously not something that was great to hear, but I respect Coach Canales. I respect the organization. Obviously they made the decision, and, it's on me to put them in that situation. So again, right now that's the situation that it is. So, I have to do everything I can to help the team in whatever way I can.
Bryce, when you were a freshman at Alabama, obviously you backed up Mac. How much do you have to kind of fall back on, that role now and what you learned in that role as kind of a guy who's there to support?
Yeah, it's just, I love Andy. We're super close, and, I love this team. I love my teammates. So, it's not hard to root for them. To try to do everything I can to help, to play my role, to try to just be around to help in whatever way I can. So really because of those factors, it's not hard to do.
There was speculation that you've lost your confidence. Did you ever lose your confidence?
Again, I draw my confidence from the Lord, and He never forsaken me, never will, and I'm that's not something that I feel. But again, at the end of the day, I take accountability for myself, for my actions, for how things have gone. At the end of the day, the quarterback, and as a leader, it all falls on my shoulders. And, I have to take that in stride and, do what I can now to try to grow and improve.
Do you feel like you still have a future here in Carolina?
I really right now I'm a day by day type of person. I've talked about that kind of consistently. Big picture stuff, that's out of my hands. That's in God's hands. Organizational stuff, that's with the people upstairs. So, I'm super grateful to be a part of the team, be a part of the organization. I want to help the team whatever way I can, and that's my focus.
You noticed a lot of support media, like your teammates. What's that kind of meant to you to all of this?
I'm super grateful for the support. I'm grateful for my teammates. Those are guys I've leaned on. Not the easiest situation, but I'm super blessed. Again, I woke up this morning. Not everyone did that. There's a long list of things that God has just blessed me with, and trying to just have perspective. I'm grateful for all the blessings He's put into my life, and being able to lean on that, people around me. I'm grateful for that, and just still trying to attack every single day. Same mentality, trying to be as good as I can for the team.
Bryce, how do you approach things moving forward now? I mean, you just kind of work towards getting another chance, or how do you approach things?
Doesn't change my approach. Still, even if it's different. You're out in practice at different times, it's still the same mindset of trying to, try to help the team and do the best I can. Still the same off the field process. Still, get in and leave at the same time. Still watch the same stuff. Still prepare the same way. That's just, I love the game and I respect the game, and I won't budge on that no matter what. So, the process is always going to be the same no matter what the circumstances are. And yeah, that'll be that way.
Is the goal to get another shot in?
My goal is to help the team whatever way the coaches see fit, and they're going to determine what way is best for the team.
Bryce, does it
time to prove yourself here?
I don't think that's up for me to decide. Again, I had there's a lot of plays that for last year in these first two games, every for the most part every snap hit my hands, and I didn't do enough with it at the end end of the day. I take accountability for that. There's plays, there's stuff, there's a long list of things that, I wish I was better at, and I'm going to continue to work to grow and improve on and be better at. So I'm always going to look in the mirror. I don't, circumstances are what they are for not just me, but for everyone. Everyone's dealing with something. Everyone has circumstances. If I went out there and played better and we won games, at the end of the day, that falls on me that didn't happen, and we wouldn't be having this conversation. So, right now I am where I am, and all I can do is try to be better each and every day.
Bryce, what situation you're in, but it does seem like there's a trend to push guys out right away as rookies instead of having kind of that acclimation prospect that you would possibly have in like Green Bay in the last few years. Do you feel like you were rushed out too early?
Again, that's not my decision to decide. At the end of the day, we had a ton of drives, we had a ton of games, and I didn't do enough during that. I look in the mirror and I take accountability for that. Again, I touched the ball, I was on the field, so things that didn't go well during that time, that's 100% on me and no one else. So, again, I gotta look in the mirror, I gotta be better, I'm gonna continue to work each and every day. The circumstances are what the circumstances are, that's not out of my control, and I'm gonna keep trying to control what I can.
All right, some great stuff there from Bryce Young. And, man, I tell you, that's character, that's class, that's, if anything, of course, I think most of us can relate. I think most of us are our own worst critics. If anything, I thought he was a little hard on himself, a little harsh, taking it all on his shoulders. It's not all on his shoulders, but to not pass the buck, to not blame, to not be bitter, even though he's clearly disappointed. And he's clearly, I think, a little bit puzzled by the decision. He did respect the fact that this organization traded up to get him, picked him number 1 overall, even though it's been a whirlwind of change since he's been there. I respect that because I think in this world today, it's so easy to not respect authority and not respect your boss and not respect the hierarchy of things in an organization. And he respected all of that, whether he agrees with it or not. Whether David Tepper is a bad owner or not, a lot of people in Charlotte feel like he is, even though he has a ton of money. He didn't throw the organization under the bus. He respected the fact that he works for someone. And that's something that we've lost a lot of in this time, is that people don't respect that they work for someone. Bryce Young works for the Carolina Panthers. And so what I'm saying, Chase, is even though I don't agree with the decision, I don't think he agrees with it, he respects that they have that right. That's the thing about sports. In most normal workplace environments, we understand the boss is the boss. But in sports, because players make so much money, and oftentimes the player makes more than the coach and the general manager, there's a tendency to think the players have all the control. But ultimately, they still work for the organization. And I respect the fact that he acknowledged that and says they have the right to make that decision. I think he's going to bounce back, whether it's in Charlotte or somewhere else. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's got a chance to be a great quarterback still. And this is not ideal, but we'll continue to keep an eye on Bryce Young. All right, it's 10:16 here on the Gary Harris Show. Lunch is right around the corner. I think today, Chase, in fact, I think I'm going to hit Los Tarascos right here on Skyline. I'm going to eat an early lunch because I've got a busy day getting ready for football Friday tonight. Also, I'm going to get into the high school football games that are coming up here in the next segment. So I think I'm just going to go right here next door to Skyline location. But there are 2 other locations of Los Tarascos, including their newest location downtown at Timerson Square. That's right. Timerson Square has Los Tarascos, of course. Also, Highway 43 North in Northport. So 3 locations, downtown Timerson Square, Highway 43 in Northport, and Skyline Boulevard in Tuscaloosa. Los Tarascos, authentic Mexican fare, full bar, TVs, drink specials, happy hour later this afternoon. Get by Los Tarascos. Or we'll be back with % satisfaction and appointments set around your schedule. Give us a call for all your steam cleaning needs, 205-553-9460. Houston Hydro Steam. Quality work you can stand on.
Are you receiving unemployment? Your benefits could be at risk. Here's how you can protect yourself and your benefits. Never respond to mail notifying you of a false claim in your name. Never answer a text message asking you to verify your account, and only respond to official Alabama Department of Labor's social media pages. Report fraud at labor.alabama.gov/fraud. Brought to you by the Alabama Department of Labor, ABA, and the station. The Alabama Department of Labor is an equal opportunity employer program. Auxiliary aids and services available upon request to individuals with disabilities. Dial 711 for TTY accessibility.
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard has led to a lot of firsts for me. It paid for me to be the first person in my family to go to school. That education got me to the first day at my dream job, which I can still hold while I serve part-time. That job and the home loan benefits I got from the Army National Guard helped me buy my first house.
Tide Tailgate Show on 95.3 The Bear and Tide 100.9 WTBC 1230. Roll Tide.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A good supply of sunshine today with a hot afternoon, the high 91. For tonight, fair with the low at 67. And for the weekend, the weather stays dry, mostly sunny tomorrow and Sunday with hot afternoons, highs between 90 and 93. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Need to know what's going on with the Crimson Tide? Then subscribe to our YouTube channel for exclusive content on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
$10:21. Love that groove from Debbie Deb. Lookout weekend. Lookout weekend indeed. It is here. And the calm before the storm, I keep calling it because next week will be crazy here in Tuscaloosa as Alabama gets ready to play Georgia. And, but, you know, I said this earlier in the week, and Chase and I were actually talking about it during the break. I said a little slow on the phone calls today. I think it's because there's a bye week and there's no game for Alabama this weekend. So phone lines are wide open at 205-342-9904 on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline. But next week will be crazy. But I'm going to enjoy the bye weekend. I'm not going to lie to you. Fridays are really long days for me. Really long days. You know, do this show, basically grab some lunch, get ready, head into the TV station, have the 1 hour show at 10:30 to 11:30 Football Friday, in addition to the newscast. And let me go ahead and say this too. I'm getting a lot of, questions and comments on social media. We are still having issues with our signal transmitter. I'm sorry. That's about all I can say. We're not at full power. And since we're not at full power, a lot of the systems can't rebroadcast our signal. And that's most of the bigger systems. That's Xfinity, Spectrum, Dish, Direct. And, I'm frustrated by it. Believe me, when I'm doing a sportscast or I'm doing a show, I want to feel like that everybody out there that has us can watch us. And that's not the case right now at WVUA 23. But I will tell you this, you can download the app, the WVUA 23 app. You can also stream us live at WVUA23.com. If you're not able to get us on TV, you can watch us that way because I got an hour of high school football coming up tonight at 10:30. Chase got 17 games we're going to try to get tonight, so it's going to be pushed. Let me run down some of these high school games for you that we're going to be watching closely tonight. And these are games, and by the way, Tuscaloosa Christian actually played last night, and they beat Cornerstone Christian out of Rainsville. So TCS got the jump on everybody and played last night and got a win. But games that we're going to be watching closely tonight include Bibb County at Holt. Central at Northridge is our WVUA 23 Football Friday game of the week. Fairfield at American Christian. Greene County at TA. Big game there. First place on the line in the region. Jemison at Sipsey Valley. McAdory at Brookwood. Midfield at Gordo. Evangel Christian Academy at North River Christian. Thompson at Vestavia. Hillcrest is at Hewitt-Trussville. I'm going to have highlights for all those games. Berry at South Lamar, we're going to have highlights from that game. Prattville at Hoover, we're going to have highlights from that game. Other games that we're going to be keeping a close eye on include Hale County at Thorsby, Haleyville at Fayette County, Holy Spirit at Francis Marion. So McAdory at Brookwood, I don't know if I mentioned that or not. We'll have highlights of that one. But a lot of games tonight on a Football Friday in West Alabama. We're going to have it covered for you. Right now, we're going to jump out on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline 205-342-9904 and visit with Ellis. Hey, Ellis.
How's it going there, Gary?
Going great, man.
I feel for that young man, Bryce Young.
I do too.
And I hope he holds his head up high and goes forward because He's a good person, first and foremost, and I still think he can do good in the NFL if he gets with the right team and the right coaches.
I don't think there's any doubt about it. And, he's just in his second season. I think he's going to bounce back from this, but I'm with you. People say, well, he makes all that money. Who cares? It hurts to be benched. It hurts to be told you're not good enough. And, he wants to be a winner. He wants to be a leader. He wants to be the quarterback of that team. And, this is a blow for him, but we played that audio because I wanted you to hear, the character that he has. I don't know that if I were 22 years old, 23 years old, whatever he is, and I was in that position, I don't know I could handle it, Ellis, the same way he handled it. I might lash out. That's kind of my personality. You know what I mean?
I guarantee you I couldn't have handled it as good as he could. So, as good as he did, no, there ain't no way I could have.
But that's
I'm
why
like you, I would have lashed out.
Do what now?
I said, I'm like you, I would have lashed out.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I probably would have, but he's a class act and puts his trust and faith in God, and he'll come back from this. He's going to be playing quarterback for somebody. If it's not Carolina, it's going to be somebody else. This script hasn't been written yet. So you going to enjoy this bye weekend? You got football on the agenda. You got the race is at Bristol tomorrow night.
I'd like to go see that. I've never been up to Bristol. I've never been to Gatlinburg or up there anywhere.
Well, you know what? That's interesting you say that, because I've never been to Gatlinburg either. And I've been through East Tennessee, obviously, but usually going to Knoxville for a football game and Chattanooga. But I've never been either. And I was sitting at the TV station earlier this week, and one of those bear videos popped up, downtown Gatlinburg, of the bear just walking on the sidewalk. And I said, I want to get up there at some point in time. But the problem is the best time to go to Gatlinburg, although people do go during the summer, but I'd rather go to the beach during the summer. The best time to go to Gatlinburg is during the fall, right? And I'm always covering football. So it's one of those things where, I want to go to Gatlinburg. And you live in Tennessee and you've never been. So that's surprising to me.
Never been. I've been living in this same spot where I live at for 36 years. So.
All right, brother. Well,
never been.
You'll be in Tuscaloosa next weekend. I think it's safe to say.
Oh yes, I'm hope. I want to be down there in time. Are you going to stay after your show and eat, or what?
Yeah, that's the plan. That is usually what I do. So yeah, right. As of right now, I'll have more information next week for you. But yeah, that should be the plan, to be at Innisfree.
Well, I plan on getting down there probably 9 or 10, something like that right there.
All right, brother. Well, let me know.
All right. Roll Tide, Gary Harris. You have a good weekend.
Thank you, Ellis. Okay, big segment coming up, because we're going to have our Auburn Report with Brett Pritchard. But before we get into that, we're going to open up the phone lines, okay? Get ready, because we're going to have our Bama football trivia contest presented by T-Town Menswear, T-Town Gallery, University Mall. Another one of the Gravedigger prints to give away. Greg Gamble, full-size color print, ready to frame. And we'll have a Bama trivia question. I'll give the trivia question. Then I'll start my interview with Brett. And the whole time I'm interviewing Brett, Chase is going to be answering the phones. We'll keep the phone lines open the entire segment. And then at the end of the segment, we'll shut them down. And yes, if you send me a social media message on Facebook Messenger or Twitter with the answer, I will get it into Chase before we do the contest. So I'd rather you call in, but if you can't call in or you just want to message me, we did that last week. In fact, one of the winner was someone who social media messaged me. So anyway, and we have delivered all the prints so far, and we'll do that again. So that
prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at VaxAssist.com.
So where should we go next?
Sponsored by Pfizer.
You see him on WVUA 23 covering sports and on Tider Insider TV on Tuesday nights. Don't miss a minute of the Gary Harris Show. Weekdays from 9 to 11 on Tide 100.9.
All right, 10:31. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show, and it's time for the Auburn Report with Brett Pritchard from the Auburn Blitz. But before we do that, We have to do our Bama football trivia contest presented by T-Town Menswear, T-Town Gallery, and the University Mall. As I said, the entire time that I'm interviewing Brett, phone lines will be open, and Chase will be answering them, and we'll be getting you qualified. We will shut the phone lines down at the end of the segment because obviously we have, we've got to get to the break and all that kind of stuff, but it's a good time to run the contest while I'm talking to Brett because he and I will keep the conversation going while Chase is handling the phone. So let me go ahead and give you the trivia question now. The phone line's 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. If you answer the question right, we will qualify you. Then at the end of the show, we'll have, last week we had 15 qualifiers. We rolled the electronic roulette wheel. It stopped on number 12, and that's how we do it. So it's pretty, it's a totally objective. Key, though, is to have the right answer. And if you don't have it the first time, you can keep calling in. All right, here is the question. And it's a bye week for Alabama, so kind of a random question, but I was just thinking this morning and about all the things that Nick Saban accomplished, and one of the things that he did was he beat Notre Dame twice. Beat him for a national championship, then beat him again in the playoff. Only one other Alabama coach had a win over Notre Dame. Only one other Alabama coach, in addition to Nick Saban, had a win over Notre Dame. That's our question. Who was the other Alabama head coach that led Alabama to a victory over the Notre Dame Fighting Irish? 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. Nick Saban beat him twice. He was 2-0. But only one other Alabama coach has a win over Notre Dame. Who is that coach? Call now if you know the answer. We'll qualify you during the entire segment, and we're going to give away another one of those Greg Gamble full-size color Gravedigger prints ready for framing from T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery at University Mall. All right, now let's turn our attention to Auburn football with Brett Pritchard. Good morning, Brett.
Hey, Gary, how are you, buddy?
Doing great. Auburn gets that win last week over New Mexico. The Hank Brown era has begun, and obviously, I don't think you could begin much better. Auburn gets a win. He played well. He threw touchdowns. He seemed to have control of the offense. Now, obviously, the competition's going to go up this week in the SEC, but just your evaluation of what you saw from Hank Brown last week in his first start.
Yeah, I think it's, what everybody hoped for. You go back to the small sample size we had of Hank Brown up until this past Saturday, and you had a little bit at the end of the Maryland game last year, and when the game was in hand already, and then you come back and you see Hank Brown in cleanup duty of the Alabama A&M game, and he's always looked the same. That's the one thing, no matter what. The two different situations coming in prior to this past Saturday, though, where he knew he was going to be the starter, and it was his football game. But again, I think, you saw what you wanted to if you're an Auburn fan, a guy that was poised and he looked calm back there and trusted what he knew. And, you heard Coach Freeze say that he graded 100% on his reads at in his checks at the line of scrimmage. So, yeah, I think this is a kid, and I said this yesterday on our program, and I'll talk more about it today. From an athletic standpoint, I think he gives you good enough athleticism to do things back there, but I don't know that you're going to see a kid that works harder in the film room, technical-wise, just the intangible things that it.
We just lost. All right, we just lost Brett, and it's difficult on Chase right now. Let me see. Okay, hang on. Just hang on, everybody. We're sorry, but it's a lot going on. Phone lines are ringing off the hook. Somehow Brett got disconnected. Chase is in the middle of answering every phone line we have, so we're going to try to get Brett back on in a minute. In fact, I'll text him and tell him we're going to call him back here in just a second. Hectic when we run these contests and we only have one person. Well, there's nobody in there other than Chase. Hang on, I'm letting multitasking here. Multitasking. As soon as Chase gets a break here, he's going to dial back out. I wish I could do it from over here, and I would do it, but that's let me ask you this, Chase. I know you're listening. Just give me a thumbs up. If Brett calls in and you answer the phone, can we put him back on? Or all right, let me tell you this. Hang on a second. Let's do this. All right, he's going to call back in. And one of these phones will, when he calls in, should be Brad. I'm sorry, folks, but this is, hey, listen, the phone lines are ringing off the hook. We're trying to run a contest. We're trying to do an interview, and it's a lot going on. And I think what happened was the phone lines got jammed, and they kicked Brett off, and we're trying to get him. That may be him right there. That might be. I see Chase talking, so that might be Brad on the phone. Lings are going, yeah, here we go. All right, we're going to try it. All right. Brett, you got me?
I got you.
Yeah, you listen. That's the danger. That's why I like doing the contest with you, because we've known each other a long time. If something goes awry, we'll work around it. You just got kicked off somehow. It's just all these lines are lit up, and I think Chase is trying to answer them all simultaneously. And probably what happened was your line got hit. But let's just pick back up on Hank Brown. You were really impressed with what you saw from the redshirt freshman quarterback last week.
Yeah, just to sum it up, I think he's poised, and again a total different, situation going into SEC play, but, you got what you wanted out of Hank Brown, or you liked what you saw out of Hank Brown from, a situation of being calm and being 100% on his reads at the line of scrimmage and his checks at the line of scrimmage, like Coach Free said. So, yeah, I think it's a good building block for him. I think he'll work hard. I think he's going to do all the things he needs to do in the film room and by himself to work on, play fakes and technical things that he can do to enhance the way he plays the game and maybe make up for some of the things that he doesn't have.
All right. As we said, tomorrow the stakes are raised. This is an interesting matchup to me. It really is. You've got, you kind of got a top level of the SEC, and then you've got kind of the mid-level, and Auburn and Arkansas seem to fall into that category. Both have a loss. Probably both feel like they shouldn't have a loss. But it doesn't matter now. It's the SEC opener. Auburn has the advantage of being at Jordan-Hare. Arkansas has moved the football well on offense under Bobby Petrino. And defensively, they've made some plays. I mean, I look at this game and I just say I can make a case for Auburn or I can make a case for Arkansas. So I'm probably leaning toward Auburn because of the home field. How do you see it?
Well, you don't look in the rearview mirror on things, but this is a team Auburn's handled pretty easily the last 4 or 5 years, and really hasn't had very many close matchups. And again, it's a new team for them, it's a new team for us. So really, what you've done in the past doesn't matter. But Auburn has had its struggles the last few years, and this is a team that they've handled pretty easily.
Yeah, blew them out last year. Yeah.
I just don't think you need to focus a lot on that. And I think fans do that. And it's hard for players not to do that as well, that are still part of the team to say, look, we handled these guys last year. But again, it's a new year. It's a new team for both. And it's a new coordinator, more importantly, for Arkansas. And we all know Bobby Petrino is an offensive guru. I mean, they've scored over 30 points in all 3 games. The Arkansas Pine Bluff game was like an Alabama A&M game for Auburn. So cancel that one out. I think the Oklahoma State game is very similar to the Cal game for Auburn. Both of us lost. So then they come back and they play UAB, and they struggled a little bit. Let's be honest. UAB's not the best in the world this year, but Arkansas, that game was, had some doubts into the second half, but so did the Auburn game with New Mexico. So I think these two teams are very similar, and both will be, opening up SEC play. And Auburn at home, again, we make a lot about, a fuss over Jordan-Hare Stadium, but here recently, opponents have had just as much fortune inside Jordan-Hare as Auburn has, unfortunately. But this is where, like we talk about in high school, Gary, when you get to region games in high school, that's what punches your ticket to the playoffs. Well, when you get in SEC play, yeah, you want to win all your games, but these are the ones that really matter. And Arkansas is again, they know that Auburn's owned them the last 4 or 5 years, so they're looking at this as an opportunity to come in and go on the road and get a big win. Auburn's only a 2.5-point favorite, and again, this will be Hank Brown's second start. So there's obviously blood in the water if you're Arkansas, thinking this isn't a good opportunity for them to get on the road and get a win.
Overall, with this Auburn team, we've focused on the quarterback clearly. What are the strengths? What are the weaknesses after 3 games, as you see it?
Yeah, it's a good question. I still, and I said that this week on our show, I don't know that we still know who Auburn is, and maybe don't know who Arkansas is either, really. But I really don't think we know about Auburn fully yet. Again, we've got a new quarterback in there. I think if you look at it from a strength standpoint, I think I'll start on defense with our linebackers. I think Eugene Asante and Robert Woodyard and Masawi they've all 3 played well, and they've gotten good time out of Austin Keys. Jalen McLeod is kind of a linebacker, but he plays that buck position with Kieran Crawford, so they don't really, you can play down on the line and you can play back a little bit. But I think the linebacking core as a whole has been a really good plus for Auburn this year. I think there's a lot of work to do on the defensive line. Auburn's not getting a lot of production, maybe outside of Keldrick Fault right now from that. That's got to change. And then on the offensive side, I think Auburn's running attack has still got to be one of the biggest positives of this team. And I don't think Auburn's utilized them enough. And now, again, games dictate kind of how game plans go. And, you saw Hugh Freeze talk about not running the ball enough and against Cal. Well, it had a lot to do with the situations Auburn were in, backed up in their own territory and behind the chains. It didn't predicate them running the football. So this past week, Jarquez Hunter, believe it or not, we couldn't believe this fact. It was the first time in Auburn, in his career at Auburn, that he had carried the ball more than 20 times. I just think he's been underutilized. I thought Damari Alston looked good. So I think Auburn really needs to lean on that, take some pressure off Hank Brown. I think, Gary, if you go back and listen to what I said going into the Cal game, I thought Auburn would run first, pass second, but that's not how they came out. And it kind of went against the grain of what Hugh Freeze has always preached, being a 60-40 run-pass offense. So I think Auburn really needs to get back to that. They need to try to control the line of scrimmage with the run game, and then, again, take their shots when they have an opportunity with Hank Brown. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's a very good summation right there. So 2:30 the kickoff on ESPN. Hugh Freeze mentioned after the game against New Mexico, some storms in that game, coming off a loss, how well the fans responded. I think a lot of that was excitement over Hank Brown, but they'll be needed tomorrow, and that's one good thing about Auburn. These are the fans. When they're needed, they answer the call. And we say this ad nauseum. Auburn fans show up. That's something that I think is just an automatic. They're going to continue. They just love this program, and I think a lot of SEC fans do. But Auburn fans they go beyond the call of duty as far as loyalty, and they will. They'll be there. First SEC game. Why wouldn't you be? Your team's 2-1. Still got everything in front of them. Again, I think we all understand that this roster is still not back to where it needs to be to compete at the highest level, but you can get better every week. And I think the kids get out there and they're playing really hard, and Auburn's having to rely on a bunch of young guys right now, which also is can kind of be an issue. But the fans will be there. I think Auburn should embrace this opportunity as a team for Arkansas coming in, again, a team that they've had a lot of success with in the last 4 or 5 years. They need to understand that and get off to a good start. They're coming to the tail end of this 5-game homestand to start the season. The last thing you want to do is start at the end of this 5-game stretch and look back and be 3-2 or even 2-3. You need to win these 2 games, and we'll find out a lot more about Oklahoma on Saturday as Tennessee comes to their place. But I think they're 2 winnable games for Auburn here at the tail end of September. And going into October with a bye before you play Georgia, if you can be 4-1, you're building on some momentum. So, but you got to take them one at a time. It's a very important game tomorrow for Auburn. Yeah, there's no doubt about it, and it's going to be a fun one. 2:30 down there on the Plains at Jordan-Hare. Coaching staff wise, are you? Of course, you had the setback to Cal.
What are you seeing? Are you happy with the way the teams of the new coordinators are handling things on the offensive and defensive side of the ball?
That's also been another topic this week. And, DJ Durkin, I think, got a really good history of being a good defense coordinator. And I think what we have to understand, and we all do this with our teams, is you have to look at the current situation. You have to look at what these coordinators are dealing with. If you look at the guys that are starting for Auburn, and I can go down through there, most of the guys starting for Auburn weren't on this team last year, or either didn't get very much playing time. I mean, Jaron Thompson's new, Masawi's new, Philip Bleedy's new, and then you can go down the line of the young guys that didn't play very much, like Keldrick Falk, Jalen McLeod. Really came on last year. Quintrell Jamison Travis, another guy that wasn't on the team. I mean, he's having to play with a bunch of guys that's learning him, and he's learning them. And so I think it's way too early to pass judgment on how well a coordinator's doing on either side of the ball. I think Auburn's doing fine on the offensive side of the ball. I think there's some things they need to tweak and work out, and I think making the quarterback change definitely was the right call at the right time. But on the defensive side, I mean, you're trying to still figure out who maybe some pieces in the secondary need to be. I personally think Keontae Scott is a great player. I thought he was one of Auburn's best players last year, but I think he's playing out of position this year. I think he's a safety, he's a nickel guy, and he's having to play cornerback. And, maybe that's because the roster is not where it needs to be. Maybe we see more of Antonio Kite there and maybe work Keontae Scott back into a more of that nickel type role. But I just think so far, it's a little bit too early to kind of judge what a coordinator has done. So just got to watch for improvement, and I think that's what Auburn's going to do. But I definitely think you got to improve on the defensive front, Gary, and you got to improve in some areas in the secondary. There's been a lot of critique on cornerbacks just not finding the football in the air. So we'll see if Auburn improves in those two areas.
Absolutely. Tomorrow will be fun. 2:30, Jordan Hare, Arkansas and Auburn on ESPN. I know you'll be talking much more about the game coming up on the Auburn Blitz.
Yeah, we will. As always, on Friday, we'll have Jason Caldwell with us from Auburn Undercover to talk about the game and maybe talk a little bit of recruiting like we always do on Friday as well. But, looking forward to the game on tomorrow with Arkansas.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you, Gary.
All right, 10:49. We're going to break away when we come back. My SEC point spread predictions for the weekend. Also, our trivia contest answer, and we'll roll that roulette wheel to get a winner. How many qualifiers will we wind up with, Chase? Quite a phone's ringing off the hook.
In President State, where Underdog Fantasy operates, terms do apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A good supply of sunshine today with a hot afternoon, the high 91. For tonight, fair with the low at 67. And for the weekend, the weather stays dry, mostly sunny tomorrow and Sunday with hot afternoons, highs between 90 and 93. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
For more from Tide 100.9, let it fly! Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and SoundCloud.
All right, 10:53. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show, and we're going to wrap it up here in a couple of minutes, but we got some stuff to do before we get to that point. My SEC point spread predictions: 8-1 the first week, then really trailed off 3-6-1 in week 2, 5-8 last week. So I'm looking to bounce back. Picking all of the SEC games this week, as all the SEC teams are either playing against each other or playing FBS teams. There's no FCS teams on the schedule. So let's just go ahead and run through these real quickly. Florida and Mississippi State, two bad teams, no way around it. UF laying 6 on the road. I think I've picked Florida every week, and it has bitten me in the rear end. You know what? I'm picking them now just thinking one of these days they're going to cover a spread. And they're laying 6. I'm going to take the Gators because I think Billy Napier either wins this game or he's probably out of there on Sunday. Mississippi State got blown out by Toledo. Now, they'll probably beat Florida, but I'm going to take Florida. minus the 6. Arkansas at Auburn. Auburn minus 2.5. I'm going to take Auburn. They've had Arkansas's number. They're at home. I like the Tigers here over Arkansas. Arkansas is getting a lot of credit for going to Oklahoma State and nearly winning, but they didn't win. And then they struggled for a good portion of that game against UAB last week. Tennessee at Oklahoma. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, the orange Kool-Aid here, because I really have a feeling that Oklahoma is going to bow up on these guys. But I think Tennessee less than a touchdown. I just think they're better. I'm going to take Tennessee minus the 6.5. Vandy at Missouri, I've been back and forth on this one. I've really been back and forth on this one. Vandy's catching 20. They beat Virginia Tech at home. I don't think they're a bad team, as bad as they've been, but Missouri's wanting to be mentioned in an elite company. And if you're going to be an elite company, you got to blow Vanderbilt out at home. So I'm going to take Missouri minus the 20 here. Ohio at Kentucky. Ohio's catching 42.5. Kentucky's going to win the game. I don't think they're going to outscore Ohio by 43 points. So I'm going to take Ohio plus the points here. A&M laying 22 at home against Bowling Green. A&M's got a little momentum now, a little surge. This would be the kind of game in the past that A&M would be sluggish in and might wind up winning it like 31-13 or something, 31-17. I don't think so, though. I think they're going to cover the 22. Ole Miss is just on a mission. They're laying 36 against a decent Georgia Southern team at home. But Lane and company, they're trying to make a statement. I'm taking Ole Miss minus the 36 here. LSU's going to get well. UCLA, don't be fooled by the name UCLA. They're not good. They barely beat Hawaii 16-13. They got blown out by Indiana. I'm going to take LSU to get healthy in this one against the Bruins minus the 22.5. Texas with Arch Manning getting his first start. ULM's 2-0. They'll be 2-1. Texas rolls. I'm laying the 44.5 here. I think Texas is going to score in the, maybe around 60. And South Carolina, their offense is iffy. Laying 27 at home against Akron. But I'm going to take the Gamecocks here to cover. So I've got South Carolina. Those are my picks. Now, our trivia question, Bama football trivia presented by T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery. Other than Nick Saban, who is the only Alabama coach to beat Notre Dame, the answer, Ray Perkins in 1986. That's the answer. We had 24 qualifiers. Go ahead and roll that roulette wheel, Chase.
Winner is number 24, Alex.
All right. That's somebody that sent me a social media message. So, Alex, congratulations. 24. Last was first. That was our last qualifier.
Look at that.
And last is first. Hey, you're still a winner. Hey, listen, that's going to wrap it up for the show. Thank you, everybody. And next week, now, we're going to be giving away for the Georgia game, we're going to be giving away the 2nd and 26 Tua to Devontae Smith print. Oh, yeah. We're ramping it up next Friday. All right. I want to thank everybody for tuning in this morning. Get ready for T-Town Sports Daily. Catch me on TV tonight. Again, I know WVUA 23 is off a lot of places, but download the app. Watch us online. Hopefully we'll be back on the air full speed. I got sports tonight, and I got Football Friday from 10:30 to 11:30. And then have a great weekend. Enjoy the bye weekend, and next Monday we'll crank it up, getting ready for the Georgia Bulldogs. All right. For Chase, I'm Gary. T-Town Sports Daily is coming up next. Enjoy the weather. Have a great day, everybody.